Right then, there we go. Mission pretty much accomplished. Not only for tonight's game against FC Astana, but I would say for this opening stage of the Europa Conference League campaign. With 2 games to spare, Chelsea are now into the playoff rounds without having to have a playoff game, if that makes any sense. Basically, we're through regardless now. We could lose our next 2 and we are one of the top tier teams, and we don't have to play that extra game. And let's be honest, right, it was probably a lot more comfortable than I felt it was going to be tonight. I had seen the fact that FC Astana are obviously used to playing in these conditions. It was absolutely freezing out there tonight. You could visibly see it. You could see it as the players were breathing, and I thought that the boys did really, really well in, let's be honest, a squad that was a mixture of, would you call them senior players? It's funny when we're calling the likes of, let's say, a 𝐒𝐂𝐑𝐈𝐁𝐄 who arrived this season, or a Pedro Neto, a more senior player. But they are players that are getting first team minutes. Chelsea come away with the 3-1 win, and Enzo Maresca will lead his boys immediately now onto an aeroplane to fly back, landing at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning in preparation for the big one against Brentford in the league. And do you know why I call it the big one? Because to memory, how long have Brentford been in the Premier League now? 2-3 seasons? I don't think we've beat them, have we? I honestly don't think that we've beaten Brentford in the league, and that's fucking mental. It really is mental, because we very much should be beating Brentford, and I think that tonight's team definitely showed you that we were looking ahead to this Brentford fixture on Sunday night. But before we even speak about Brentford, which me and the big dog will be doing in the studio tomorrow, let's talk about tonight's game. But people, before we get into all that, welcome back to the Joey Knight podcast. If you are new around here, please do hit that subscribe button. If you're not new around here, you're a regular viewer and you're not subscribed, please hit the button. It's one simple click and it really helps out the channel. I'll tell you what else helps out the channel: if you smash that like button right now. And when we have just recorded, I think it's our 8th win in a row, something like that. I think that that's our best run of form in 2 coming up 3 years. There is no reason for you to not hit that like button, because we as Chelsea fans should all be happy right now. And also, I have linked my new podcast with Josh, the one you guys have been begging for, the joint podcast, in the description. We're talking all things pop culture, crime, non-football, non-sports even, but we are having a laugh and we are having the usual banter that we do. So please head over there and subscribe. We're dropping episodes every Sunday. We've got about 5 episodes up on there already. Let's get into the game itself. And right now you can see the team sheet on screen. Jorgensen in goal. Josh 𝐒𝐿𝐿, as I predicted, did start at right back. Really good to see him in there. Disasi, Tosin, Vega, who was obviously inverting into midfield, 𝐒𝐒𝐑𝐈𝐁𝐄, and he was joined in the midfield for, I believe, his Chelsea debut, definitely his full Chelsea debut, in 𝐉𝐎𝐄𝐄. He played really well, by the way. I'm really excited to see a little bit more of this kid as things progress. Then, in the number 10, you had a player that I really like in 𝐉𝐻𝐿𝐿, Pedro Neto, one of our more senior players out on the right wing. On the left wing is a player who we've only really just started seeing minutes from this season and in pre-season, but a player that I am growing to love, by the way, and that is Tyrick George. I really like Tyrick George, and I think he's a player that, you know, hopefully sticks about and hopefully has a bright future with Chelsea Football Club. And Mark Q, who also is a very young player, arrived in the summer, 5 million from Barcelona, and he had a great game tonight. But let's get into the main talking points. And it started really early, to be honest, didn't it? Because the first real chance of the game falls to Pedro Neto. 8th minute, a lovely ball is slotted through from 𝐒𝐿𝐿 in the defence, in that sort of right-sided solid centre-back position when we're in the back three, which, let's be honest, we were for pretty much the whole game. Neto works it onto his left foot. He forces a save from the goalkeeper, and this shows me straight away that Chelsea are starting this game a lot quicker than maybe I had an inkling that we were actually going to. I thought that we might struggle a little bit in the early stages, but that was not the case at all, because 12 minutes in, Chelsea open the scoring, cutting through the Astana defence with absolute ease. And it's Mark Yu. He gets the well-timed ball from Pedro Neto, but he still has a lot to do. He's not even central in the pitch. He's on the right wing position, and he has a man to beat and the goalkeeper to beat. And do you know what? He says, right, let's go for it. Let's have it. Paces up that wing, gets all the way into the box and puts one past the keeper. Great solo effort to open the scoring, and a really good moment so far for the young Chelsea number 9. He's not the actual number 9, but, you know, he's a number 9 position. Probably his best moment in a Chelsea shirt so far. And his best moment was soon to be followed by an even better moment, because Pedro Neto then assists him for his second goal of the match. I don't know whether or not they've given this one to him. I don't know whether they've put it down as an own goal, but on the replay, it looked like it was Mark Yu to me that bundled it in. Great work from Pedro Neto once again. And do you know what, right? I think that the left back, 𝐉𝐎𝐄𝐑𝐈𝐁𝐄, I believe his name was, he'll walk away thinking, thank God that game's over, because he was absolutely getting hammered for pace down that right-hand side. Pedro Neto had decided to take him on and leaves him for dead. He's in the rear-view mirrors, and when he cuts the ball across, there's a bit of a fumble bundle in the box, and I thought it went in off Mark Yu. I'm giving the goal to him, so it doesn't matter what UEFA do, because obviously the sort of recognised sanctioning body for anything football is the Joey Knight podcast, and I will give the goal to Mark Yu. So it's 2 for Yu, and 39 minutes in, we make it 3. And do you know what? It's the second time in this competition that Renato Vega has scored a terrific little header from a terrific little corner that was supplied to him by a terrific little player in 𝐒𝐿𝐵𝐻𝐿. He was pulling some strings today, I thought, 𝐒𝐿𝐵𝐻𝐿, albeit against lesser level opposition. And maybe, do you know what? When you look at the fact he was pretty much Championship Player of the Season last season, he was the Player of the Season for the team that finished top of the league. So I think it was it Somerville that finished Championship Player of the Season? He's at West Ham now, and he was at Leeds. But either way, 𝐒𝐿𝐵𝐻𝐿, if he was Player of the Season in the Championship, then maybe he underperformed tonight, because he didn't have a 10 out of 10 match, and these lot aren't as good as the Championship outfit, I wouldn't say. But either way, he whips in the ball, and it's a combination of two things here, isn't it? It is poor defending, if I'm being honest, and a great header from Vega. Because if you look at it, if someone gets free the near post or the back post or whatever, then you can sort of go, yeah, okay, these things happen from corners. Vega's just stood in the middle, calls for it, 𝐒𝐿𝐵𝐻𝐿 whips it into him, bomb, like that. See that? Bomb, right in the back of the net. Back at the fucking goal hole. He makes it 3-0. Now, 44 minutes in, right? Marin Tomasov. Tomasov? Is it Tomasov? He's the captain. Marin Tomasov, I think it is. He converts what really for me was Astana's first clear-cut chance. And do you know what? It's a great goal, to be fair. Right, people, I just want to quickly take this opportunity to tell you about new partners of the channel, 𝐒𝐿𝐶. When you're in the YouTube industry like I am, there is a certain type of service that you could very much do with having on your side, and that is the service that stops you making blunders. And when I'm preparing for some of my videos, I use the website 𝐒𝐿𝐶 to use the player comparison matrix, and that helps me get a better understanding of comparing the players that I'm talking about. For example, a lot of you guys know that for every Chelsea game, I put out my preferred starting lineup, and I do look into the underlying numbers of the players I'm picking and the players that I'm comparing, and that's where 𝐒𝐿𝐶 comes in. They offer the best player comparison matrix on the internet. The website is so efficient and so easy that even I can use it. For example, when I'm picking from Chelsea's 30 to 40 odd wingers that we've got at the club, I can very easily jump onto 𝐒𝐂𝐑 and see how their stats compare. But you don't need to be a YouTuber to need to use 𝐒𝐂𝐑. You could use it for your bets when you're betting on first goal scorer and things like that. It could give you a better indication. Or you could just use it to look like a genius down the pub, and we all like to do that, don't we? So thank you very much to 𝐒𝐂𝐑 for not only helping me prepare for my videos, but also partnering up with the channel. So help support me by supporting the guys that support the channel in 𝐒𝐂𝐑. They are linked in the description for this video. Let's get back into it. He works his way off the right-hand side, and we come to learn in this match that he's got a good left foot on him, right? And I think on the run of play of how the match had been going, maybe Renato Vega didn't fear Astana that much and didn't really rate their quality because he doesn't get close enough to him. And in a Premier League game, I'd be saying, right, you ain't done well there defensively, mate. But in this one, you can sort of let him off. Either way, 𝐒𝐒𝐂𝐑 rattles one in off the post. Nothing 𝐉𝐎𝐄𝐄𝐑 can do about it. And again, 𝐉𝐿𝐿 will be gutted because these keepers, man, they just can't keep clean sheets, can they? They're like a bunch of bloody toddlers, mate. They can't keep a clean sheet. Either way, I'm not going to go in on him because I think most goalkeepers would have been beaten by that one. But do you know what it is, right? I think even though we go in 3-1 at half time from that, I think that I'm not really complaining because the goal was completely against the run of play. I think in that opening 45 minutes, Chelsea were completely dominant. We had 10 shots and 72% possession. And trust me, I watched the game. I don't know the stats, but I would guarantee that 72% possession, probably 95% of it came in Astana's own half. We had them pinned back and they didn't have any real belief. And when they scored that goal, I think for the second half, they actually came out with a little bit more belief. They looked a little bit more lively, maybe being told by their manager at half time that, look, these boys are smelling blood and they're smelling the opportunity to be able to, you know, collect some numbers here in terms of goals and assists, and therefore they're pushing up, and therefore you will have chances on the counter-attack against them. And we saw it, didn't we? It was 𝐒𝐿𝐿 once again. He got forward on the counter-attack around 5 minutes in. He blasts one at 𝐉𝐿𝐿, and 𝐉𝐿𝐿 makes an impressive save for that one. 𝐒𝐿𝐿𝐿, he had a good chance on the hour mark. Do you know what? It was almost in identical fashion to the goal he scored against Enzo Maresca's Leicester in the Cup last year. It was a little 1-2 which he carries on the run for, but this time the goal he saves. And 𝐒𝐿𝐿𝐿 was a player that I was really impressed by today. The match finishes 3-1. It's formality, you'd call it, wouldn't you? And again, 3-1. I predicted us to win by a 2-goal margin, but I didn't predict it to be as dominant and as easy as it was. And I think the tale of this match wasn't so much about Chelsea and about what we found out about the players that are in that B team that we call it, for example. It was more about the kids, wasn't it? It really was about the kids. It was about the younger players and the academy graduates that came into the team. Now, looking at how they performed, it did kind of make me think, fuck me, Astana were lucky that the likes of Felix, Nkunku, Mudryk were all unavailable, because we'd have probably come away from there with a 6-0 win or something if even 2 out of 3 of those boys had been on the pitch. But out of the academy players that we did see, I want to know from you lot, who do you think looked best? Who do you think gave the best showing tonight and staked the best claim to starting to accumulate themselves some more minutes? I'm not going to say, you know, be in contention to be starting games, because I don't think any of them are that close yet. But there is one man in particular that I will earmark. So let's go through who we saw. We obviously had the likes of a Champong Raksaki and Tyrick George from the start. And then we had Atto Ampa, 𝐉𝐻𝐿𝐿, a man that we would all know. He's been knocking around Chelsea academy, first teams and whatnot for a few seasons. I want to pronounce this right. 𝐒𝐿𝐿𝐿, I don't know much about him. He's a striker. I didn't know much about him. I don't know whether he's been on the bench for us before. You lot can incite me. You lot can tell me. The commentary was saying that he's highly touted. But again, I must have missed the ball on him. Don't know much about him. But 𝐒𝐄𝐑𝐈𝐁𝐄, I do know about because of the fact that I've seen highlights of him, and obviously he has made the bench for us quite a few times before, albeit I don't know whether he's had minutes off the bench or not. Again, you guys can tell me. We saw those guys in the second half. Now, 𝐒𝐒𝐿, for me, he's the man we've got to speak about, because 𝐒𝐿 is a man that was sort of in a bit of a standoff contract-wise. We wanted him to sign and whatnot, and I think maybe he wanted more assurances of first team game time or something like that, and therefore he's almost been frozen out, pardon the pun, after tonight's weather conditions. But he is now getting closer to signing that contract, and full credit for Enzo Maresca sticking him in, because when we look at, I thought Enzo Maresca was coming in as a yes man, and he actually hasn't, has he, at all? Like, I don't think Pochettino does stick him in last season with the way things are going if you hadn't signed a contract and whatnot. 𝐒𝐿 is put in there, and I would say that he probably did look best out of them. He showed a little bit of attacking brilliance just before half-time when he danced through 2 or 3 players and got a shot off. And when the game sort of, I won't even say swung, but when Astana became a little bit more competitive, we got to see some of his defensive ability, albeit limited and against limited opposition, but he looked good. He looked good in tight spaces, controlled, composed, calm on the ball, and I thought that he did really well today. And I think that despite the fact that they all look good, let's be honest, they all look good when they came on, I think that he's the one that is closest to maybe getting in to that first team. Malo Gusto's been doing a great job, but inverting, I think he's good. I think he's good, but sometimes I feel like Cucurella is the better option to invert. And then I think if you have a flat back three in certain games you're dominant in, is Malo Gusto defensively good enough in certain positions along that line? The answer's yes, by the way. But what I'm saying is sometimes you want a probably bigger, thicker set defender in there. And maybe that's why we've seen 𝐉𝐻𝐄𝐑𝐈𝐁𝐄 at times recently. Well, Josh 𝐒𝐿 suits that role perfectly. He really does, as that right-sided player in the free at the back. And again, imagine him playing alongside Levi Colwell. You'd love that, wouldn't you? A couple of academy graduates. Josh 𝐒𝐿 is the man that I think is closest to potentially even getting into that first team. When we look at the injury crisis that has plagued Reece James for years now, 𝐒𝐿 may well get his chance sooner rather than later. Saying that, I thought that Tyreek George looked lively as well, and I always feel like he does. He's a player that I love to watch, Tyreek George. He likes to take men on whenever he can, try and take men out of the game. He likes to get shots off whenever he can. He always looks good in doing so. 𝐉𝐻𝐄𝐑 looked really, really comfortable in that pivot. And when I predicted the team, I didn't even think of 𝐉𝐻𝐄𝐑, because I didn't know too much about him and whatnot. But I kind of looked at it and I thought, will Carney Chukwuemeka and Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall make the strongest pivot? Probably not. Probably going to need 𝐉𝐻𝐻𝐾 in there. And I think 𝐉𝐻𝐄𝐑 actually alleviated 𝐉𝐻𝐻𝐾 of some of that pressure. I thought he looked really, really good. And speaking of Chukwuemeka, he played in the number 10, and I thought most of what we did good until he came off came through him. Most of it. Obviously, Pedro Neto and everyone gave their contribution tonight really, really well. But I thought a lot of what we looked good doing came through Chukwuemeka. I've always had no doubt since I first saw him appear under, was it Potter? It may have even been Tuchel. No, it was Graham Potter. It was Graham Potter. I saw him first ever don a Chelsea shirt under, and I've always rated Chukwuemeka. I've always thought he looked really good, and I think he will go on to be a top player. I really, really do. My concern is, will he go on to be a top player at Chelsea Football Club? Because we're just stacked in that position, aren't we? And is he in ahead of Cole Palmer? No, I don't think anyone in world football is. But then you go, is he in ahead of João Felix? Not sure. Is Nkunku a number 9? I don't know if Nkunku will stick about further than this season, despite actually being our top goal scorer at the moment. But if he does, I think he's better as a number 10. So it really does put Carney Chukwuemeka down in the pecking order. And because of the fact that every time we see him play, he looks good, maybe you could imagine that Carney might get sold, and he might be one of those ones that's moved on for a little bit of profit. And one thing that I've got to say is there was so much made, wasn't there, of the balancing act, of the fact that these players' limited minutes are going to be causing unrest in the dressing room that can't fit anyone in. They're all going to be unhappy, and maybe our PR's better. Maybe they are knocking on Enzo Maresca's door and telling him they want more minutes. But I can only go on what I see on the pitch, the smiles I see on the players' faces, the way that they turn up. They don't have their heads dropped in matches, and they don't play with an attitude. And all of these boys just run their socks off constantly when given the opportunity. So I think Enzo Maresca deserves ultimate credit for the balancing act. He's been juggling plates, and my God, the circus should employ him because he juggles very, very well, old Enzo Maresca. I think that he's one of the best things to happen to Chelsea Football Club in so long, man. And I'm not just basing that off this game. It's the start of the season. You can't deny it. Whoever thought we were going to do well, including me, did not think we were going to do this well. And Enzo Maresca deserves immense credit for it. Now, man of the match, who will I give it to? I want to know who you lot give it to. But for me, it's got to be 𝐒𝐿𝐄𝐄. As much as I've said about how well 𝐒𝐂𝐑𝐈𝐁𝐄𝐑𝐈𝐁𝐄 did, how well Rak-Saki did, and 𝐉𝐎𝐄𝐿𝐄𝐑 did, and other academy graduates, and Changpong and whatnot, I think that for 𝐒𝐿𝐄𝐄 to start this game when, let's be honest, it probably would have been 𝐿𝐿𝐄𝐄 starting it had he have been available. For him to start this game, to score that solo effort that he did, which I thought was a really impressive goal, and then to get another one after that. Let me check. Have they actually given it to 𝐒𝐿𝐄𝐄? Have they given it to 𝐒𝐿𝐄𝐄? They have. They've given it to 𝐒𝐿𝐄𝐄. There you go. There you go. I told you they should. It was him that bundled it in. Either way, 𝐒𝐿𝐄𝐄, man of the match. But now it is all eyes on Brentford, my friends. And it's a statement if we beat Brentford. It really is, because we haven't done it so far in the Premier League since they've been up. I don't think. I'm pretty sure we haven't. Either way, I'm so looking forward to that match, and I'm looking forward to getting in the studio with the big dog tomorrow to cover that game. So if there's anything you want us to answer, let me know in the comments section below, and let me know your thoughts on tonight's performance. Most importantly, which academy graduate did the best tonight? So it's unfortunate that I don't put 𝐒𝐿𝐄𝐄 in that and whatnot, but I'm on about the academy boys. Who did best tonight? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below, and I will see you all in the next one.